don't even know how many people's going to be listening to this. So,
Millions, bro. Millions.
just block it out, Jason.
All right, guys. Let's get this podcast going. Today, so this is our 5th podcast behind the business. I'm your host, Jason Menerinter. We got Dave here, co-host.
Yes.
And we got a special guest, Jimmy Diep. Diep?
Deep.
Jimmy Diep. Jimmy Diep. So we're gonna go behind the business with Jimmy Diep. Jimmy Diep is the broker. Co-broker now, or are you still the broker at Remax Irealty?
Still on title as broker.
Still on title as on the broker.
Oh shit, sorry, that's mine.
It's all good. Broker at Remax Irealty Innvoations. And you've been running that for 10 years.
Big 1-0.
Is it 10 years for 2020? So you started in 2000?
Yeah, 10 years, June 28.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a 10-year anniversary.
Crazy.
But we
just
can't throw
yesterday.
a party because of this whole COVID scenario.
Holy shit.
Damn, that was
Damn,
yesterday.
God, I
Yeah,
gotta
that
put
was
that. I
yesterday.
gotta put that out on Instagram.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
2 days before my birthday. You should have done something for 10-year anniversary.
So we can piggyback off of a party.
Yeah. 10 years, that's crazy. And right now you have about 80 agents.
Yes, sir.
How many agents did you have starting? What was your lowest amount of agents and highest amount of agents?
3
3 agents.
is the
okay.
lowest.
And I'm assuming that's when you...
When we first started.
Okay.
It was like we bought the office and then there was like 3 in there.
Yeah, how did you guys get into it? How did you guys get into buying the office? Like that's a good story. Like I've heard some of it before,
Yeah.
but
Well, I met Farin at like, so he used to go to school with my wife, and he was like mutual friends with Khalil Haji, who's also our other friend. I ran into him at a party, and we were like getting talking. We're like, hey, you know, brokerage is such a good model. Mm-hmm. Complete lie. But it's like, you know, you're younger, and you're like, okay, well, this is a good model. You know, you recruited associates. At the time, we knew a lot of agents too.
Wait, how old are you now?
27.
27?
Yeah, so we
you bought this at 27.
Yeah, we bought the office at 27.
Okay, so you're 37 now.
Yeah.
And you bought it at 20.
Right.
Okay, you weren't 17.
No, not 17.
Okay.
And then we got talking, and we were like, okay, well, it's a good model, right? And then it took us a little while, so we were trying to look for different brokerages. We talked about getting our own name, you know, all the normal stuff that you would think about. You know, start a boutique, local office, and then we looked at some other franchises. There's a realty executive that we were talking to that was giving away franchises at the time. Mm-hmm. But we got talking, kept talking, and it was like, well, if we're going to do this, you got to be able to sell what something you believe in. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. It's hard to sell a brand that nobody knows. It's hard to sell a brand that is kind of middle of the road. Mm-hmm. And so the ability to sell something with a brand name behind it is a little bit easier, and the support behind it is easier. So then we said, okay, well, you know, what's one of the top names in real estate? It's Remax. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Remax is one of the biggest in Calgary.
In Alberta.
one of the
Alberta,
biggest.
right?
Yeah.
Biggest in the world.
Yeah, well, definitely in the world, for sure.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just, I called Western Canada. They said no. Like, really, really nicely. They said, fuck off, basically. Like, we get 3 calls a week. Like, why would we give you franchise or whatever?
Yeah.
But then at the end of the conversation, he mentioned a name, Jessica Stoner. He's like, have you spoken with Jessica Stoner? And I didn't know of the name. I didn't even know of the brokerage that she had in Calgary at the time. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks, so we're like, okay, well, that goes our shot type of thing. A couple weeks later, I was just cruising around. I was going to get a haircut, and I ran into, and I was moving at the time. So when I was cruising up Crowchild, I called the hair, like, it was just last minute thing, you know. I called my hairdresser or whatever. I said, hey, do you have a time? And she's like, yeah, sure, come in about an hour. So then she was right across the street from a Future Shop, or Best Buy, and Future Shop. And then I went to Future Shop, looked at some TVs and things, because I was moving and I needed some TVs. Ran into a fella, and I was negotiating the TVs, and then I had to leave to get the haircut. So I said, hey, here's my phone number. Call me if you get authorization from your manager for whatever I was negotiating him for.
Yeah.
So I went to get my haircut. He called me while I was in the chair, and my voicemail picked up, and it said, hey, hey, you've reached Jimmy Diep with Remax so-and-so at the time, because I was already with the Remax office.
So you were a realtor before?
Yeah.
When you were wanting to do your own brokerage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad was in real estate.
Oh, okay.
So then
Okay.
he was doing it forever. And then I was helping him ever since I was in junior high.
Oh, so
That's how I got introduced to the business.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the days when Altera, I don't know if you guys know, there was Altera, there was an Altera system, dial-up connection.
Never heard of it.
You had to download, you would dial up, log in, download, this is right after all the books and shit you used to have to flip through for listings. But you dial up, download all the listings. It's this rinky-dink system. Then you can go through it. Usually there's only one photo of the house outside.
You had to print everything out.
You had to print everything out. It was.
I can only imagine back then.
Oh, it was ridiculous. So then I was because my dad's his English isn't very good, right? So I did his appointments and things, that type of shit.
So were you doing it right out of high school?
Junior high.
Yeah, pretty much. Junior high, I was helping him with that, and then high school was still the same thing.
What made you decide that you wanted to do the brokerage, though?
So ever since in high school, I was so you get introduced to the real estate, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you're Dad, you should open up a broker. Just seems like such a good model.
Yeah.
You can, you know people you can recruit, and that's what it is. Why do you want to go and sell houses when you can recruit people? And he's always no, I'm not going to do that, because he's just, like I said, his English isn't the best. And that was just isn't his thing, right? So all through university, it sat in the back of my mind. So when you're doing business, when you're going through the business courses and stuff, you're oh, yeah, it's still a pretty good idea, whatever. And then it was always there. It was always in the back of my mind I just thought it was a good model.
To start one up.
Yeah.
Because your background's in business too, right? You have a business background from university?
Yeah. So I did...
So wait, you went to university also?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the U of C, I actually grew up here. Went to the schooling system here. I went to university here.
University of Calgary?
University of Calgary, Haskayne School of Business.
Okay.
Switched majors 3 or 4 times, and then finally I just ended up doing a general business degree. And it was one of those things where I went from, I was in finance major, I went marketing major, operations major, and then the 4th time I actually got some, there was one professor that I remember, his name's Thurkettle. I spoke with him and I was hey, I can't find exactly what my niche is, and I don't really I enjoy all these different aspects, but I never really wanted to get into the in-depth of finance. I don't want to get in-depth into marketing or whatever, right? I like the whole overall strategy. And then he said, everybody shits on a general business degree, but it is one of the degrees that you don't need you don't have to concentrate. You don't have to have a concentration on anything. And so I took his advice, so I took courses from everywhere. I did international business courses, I did operations management, I did, just courses from all the different disciplines. And so it rounded out my knowledge a little bit. So that was probably one of the best advice I got from graduating out of university there.
That's sweet.
So right after you graduate, you went full-time into real estate, or?
Oh, no,
how did that transition happen?
Graduated in 2004.
Okay.
That's
and then...
well, we graduated high school in
2005.
Yeah, we're 4 years apart, right?
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 years apart. So I graduated university 2004, went to work at CP Rail, right away.
Oh, crazy.
So they had this recruiting program that comes through the university, right? And they have this hiring, whatever. Then went to work...
CP Rail, full-time you were
full-time, full-time CP Rail right out of school. And it was it was good. I mean, they hired a certain number of people, and then it was a good paying job at the time. They were one of the top paying companies, and that was at that time I think it was like $38,000 out of university. You're like, all right, score. But so I worked for them for like 3 years, did a bunch of roles there. Then I switched to Enbridge Pipelines, did financial analysis there.
Nice.
And then went to Calgary Economic Development and was a business development manager there for about a year or so. And then after that, I went to property management and real estate.
Crazy.
So during that time, when I was at Enbridge, I got my real estate license.
So how old were you at Enbridge, and then when you got into real estate?
You know,
20.
this whole time though, Jimmy, just I gotta say this, I thought you were in real estate this whole time.
The whole time.
I didn't know you had all these jobs and.
I think it's
I
rare.
didn't even know you went to school.
I think it's rare to have people who go straight into real estate out of
high school
or out of university.
Very rare.
Like, I mean, it's
true.
rare. I mean, like I think everybody has had.
Some
They worked for a
experience.
little bit,
Yeah.
had some sort of experience, some sales experience, or something before they hit like real estate sales. Because you got to be in business for yourself. Like it's really, really tough to not have a background in any of those things and then just kind of jump in full time. I mean, you guys do this, right? And it's like you got to have some sort of an experience for self-employment.
Yeah.
Business background, even if it's not business background, you got to have the drive to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to like our family as well too, because you saw your father do it, and like that's like me and like my parents. Like I saw my parents run their own business,
Yeah.
so that kind of like nurtured me into self-employment. So yeah, like that's when I realized like the office life wasn't for me.
Right. No, that's exactly it. You do it, and then you're like, I didn't want to put a suit on for somebody else every day.
Yeah.
You know. But then over the years, like when I first started, when I left full time, it was like I wore a suit every day.
Yeah.
But then it was for myself.
Yeah.
And then over the years, you're like, ah, shit, I don't want to wear this anymore.
That's why I never wear a suit.
Oh, dude, I was wearing a suit every day. when
Jason
I
loved wearing
started.
a suit.
We all started there, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm in business for myself. I got to look good. And then
Yeah.
after a while, you know, you just want to be genuine and you want to be trustworthy. You want to just people to trust you. Like, I don't know. It depends on the market, the clientele you're going after, I guess. But
Yeah,
But
like
back in the day, the suits were kind of a cool thing.
it was a thing.
no,
Absolutely.
yeah. We
Yeah.
would put on suits for like our first meeting with the client,
Yeah.
but once they start to get to know you and like you get comfortable with them, then you start to be
You
able
relax
to
a
dress
little
down.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, I hated wearing suits coming outside of the office life.
Yeah, that's right.
Like-
So now, like, sometimes I'm like, I still help friends and families and stuff, right? I show up in like sandals and shorts.
Because they just know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
of course. They don't care.
That's when you made it. You show up like that.
No, that's when you're like, shit, I gotta go help these guys, but
I'm
want
doing
to.
you
They're
a
friends.
favor now.
No, they're friends,
Yeah.
they're family. You really want to help them, and that's all you really want to see. And I think
Yeah,
that's where the
exactly.
success comes in for realtors, is when you can get to a point where it's not about the sale. I think you guys talked about this in your last podcast. It's
never
not.
about
It's
the sale.
never about that
It's never
sale.
about
Yeah.
the sale.
Yeah, it's always about the journey, about helping them find the right place,
Yeah.
getting a deal.
The service, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you just finished your career. You made that transition to real estate full time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means you were doing real estate for about 2-3 years. So
Yeah, I was doing real estate for probably like 2.5 years full time.
And did you not like real estate, or what was it that was?
Oh, it was
always
like-
in the back of your head to do the brokerage.
So I did it. It was like I built a good business,
Yeah.
but I was never the person to ever wanted to see. This is kind of contradictory. I never I don't know. You guys know me. I think I'm a fairly reserved person.
Absolutely, you're reserved.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I just not really out there type of thing.
Yeah.
So having my name,
I would say calm and collective.
Yeah.
Kind of what I.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
I'm just not that. I don't know. I just didn't want to see my name. It's very contradictory to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Whoops. I didn't want to get my name out there. I didn't want to see it on a bus bench. I didn't want to. So meeting new clients was great, but it wasn't like my most favorite thing to do. Like I'm introverted at the same time. Outgoing when you need to be, sociable when you need to be, but also like just inherently, I'd just rather be, hanging out at home
sure.
type of thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to see my name out there. I didn't really just do those advertising and stuff. And so but the connections on the relationship level was really important, and I liked that part of it. So again, going back to kind of, it's always been in the back of my mind, I thought the brokerage was a good model, because then you get to be behind the scene. You get to share some of the knowledge and experience that I've had in business development for my previous job, into helping agents grow their business, and kind of be the behind the scene type of thing. And that was a good fit for me.
I think so.
That's why I was like, I think this is where I need to go. And the opportunity was just, it was just weird that there was an opportunity to buy a Remax.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because you said you called Western Canada and they said basically, fuck off.
Yeah.
Gave you a name.
Didn't think anything of it.
And then you're in conversation with Farhan about getting the business. So how did you get your foot in the door? How did you get your first Remax?
So after the haircut thing, the guy at Future Shop. Back to that story. The guy at Future Shop. I came back, right? So I finished my haircut. I come back.
That was a good backstory.
And I talked to. This is how it goes. It goes right around. It comes right back around. I see the guy again, right? And he says, "Cool, I got you the deal." He approved it. I was like, "Awesome." And then he said to me, he's like, "Hey, are you in real estate?" I was like, "Yeah." How'd you know? He's like, "Well, your voicemail." I was like, "Oh yeah, right, duh." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, do you know?
Do you want to buy a house?"
I was like, "Why? You need to buy a house?" It's like, "No. Do you know Jessica Stoner?" That's what he said to me, and I'm like,
"That's crazy."
No, but that's
crazy.
So weird. That's the second time I've heard that name in the last 2 weeks. Right? It's only been like 2 weeks.
That's when all the stars.
Yeah, that's when they all aligned, I guess. But then I was like, no, and he's like, oh, I do some website stuff for her right now, and she's got a new brokerage. She lives out in Canmore.
So he worked for her.
Yeah, he was doing like website stuff for her.
Crazy.
Like,
crazy.
It's on the side. And then I said, oh, cool. And he said, well, yeah. And then, but when he said that, the thing that came through my mind said, well, she lives in Canmore. She has a brokerage in Calgary. That commute probably isn't fun. And I said, hey, can you get her to reach out to me? And I gave her, and I gave him my card. Didn't hear anything from them. Didn't hear anything from her. 2 weeks later, I was buying something else at Future Shop. I ran into him again. And I said, hey, she never called me. He's like, oh, yeah, about that. There's an unwritten rule that she said that brokers can't call other Remax agents. So she never reached out, and she's like, and he said, well, you're going to have to call her. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem.
You're like, well, I waited 2 weeks for you to tell me that.
2 weeks for you to tell me that. Yeah. But he didn't know at the time, and so he did tell her about it, and she couldn't call. So then I called her up, and she said, okay, cool, let's come in for a meeting. But in her eyes, that whole meeting, she was trying to recruit me as an agent. And at the end of the meeting, I just said, hey, listen, I appreciate everything you do, and I really like the idea. Because it was the same idea that me and Farhan was talking about. Like utilizing technology, being online of sorts, right?
So was she at a brokerage in Calgary called Remax?
It was called Remax Alpine, and then in brackets, Irealty.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Remax Alpine Irealty.
Yeah, Remax Alpine bracket Irealty. I think that's what she called it.
Okay.
But then, where was I? Oh yeah, that meeting. And then at the end of the meeting,
she's you're recruiting her,
right? You as an agent. I said, hey, that's all great. And I said, but this is my current situation. I've asked my current broker for. My current broker at the time, I had conversations about me wanting to do more, about wanting to be, more of like a back end role. But now looking back, I could see why that answer might have been no. The answer because probably I was a little bit too young in their eyes. Somebody who's been doing it for so long.
Wait, what? You're 25, 26 right now?
No, 27 now.
Oh, you're 27.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so I met her beginning of June, like end of May, beginning of June. And then, so at the end of the meeting, I said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Are you looking for a partner, a managing broker, anything of that sort? And she says, I am actually. And we got discussing, and she was willing to give up a big chunk of the office. And then me and Farm bought it. So from that meeting to the time that we took possession, it was 30 days. So
That's crazy.
From your initial meeting with her.
from the initial meeting with her to the time that all the papers were signed, money transferred, everything transferred, like done, was 30 days. So that was like June 28th is when that we took possession of the brokerage.
Crazy.
And then on July 3rd, I got married. And then I left for 2 weeks on a honeymoon after that. So then Farn was left here.
Running the
beginning
business.
by himself, running the business that we just bought.
Yeah. From scratch, right?
Yeah, from scratch.
You left for 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's how that started. I took a road trip down to California. So then it was like, yeah, it was funny.
That's sweet. And it included some other brokerages too, right? Like it wasn't just like Canmore
We
and Calgary.
bought just the one.
Oh.
So just the one in Calgary. And then, so we grew the office. Well, we moved out of there within the first 6 months. 'cause it was
Before
so
we
small.
move to the next one, I'm just it seemed like it was 30 days is kind of a long time to negotiate a deal if you're talking every day, right? Were you guys negotiating the whole time, or was it pretty easy to
Well, 30 days on like, I think 30 days is, to me, like, it's pretty quick to do all your due diligence,
yeah.
to get the lawyers to draft up your
That's what I
purchase
mean.
contract,
Yeah.
to get
Everything.
everything, like the funds, the signatures, and everything. We there wasn't a whole lot of negotiations going on because you know coming into purchasing a Remax, we've heard some ridiculous numbers of like what the value of of the brokerage is,
Yeah.
and what was offered was like, it was so different that I think looking back we like probably overpaid by a little bit, but still at that time we're like, oh yeah, man, this is a completely fair number.
How many agents were at her brokerage?
Well, when we agreed, there was about 8,
Okay.
and then by the time we took possession, it was 3.
So there was.
Yeah.
Was she Chinese?
No,
No, Stone.
Stoner?
Stoner.
Oh, so she was white.
Yeah, just Caucasian.
Okay.
White. Yeah.
So how was that group with you guys? You being
Oh, it was good.
Asian, brown, white.
27.
Yeah. 27.
It was good. I mean, I think we were very different.
Yeah.
Like even today, like me and Farn are very different right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we always have been. But then I think that's what works, right? Like
That's what I say too. Like me and Dave, very.
you guys are
different,
very different.
Yeah.
But somehow.
But it works.
It just yeah.
People scratch their heads sometimes, you know, and that's kind of like what you want. Like when you know a relationship is, or like a business relationship is good.
Yeah.
That's when you just, you know.
Yeah.
uh,
We've also known
you
each
know.
other for a long time.
You know each other, but I think when you get into business, it's very different too.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's
It
very
is.
hard.
At first.
Yeah. Like in a business relationship, it's kind of like a relationship too, right? Because you talk to each other every day, and then you're still trying to figure each other out on a business level. Versus like a friendship level. You know,
It's
you're not-
different, yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
Well, it's
like,
like-
hey, do you want to go out this weekend? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
you
you're
wanna
married
close some
when you're in a
deals.
business relationship,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got finances that are together,
Yeah,
You got business.
meetings and appointments and all sorts of stuff together, and
Yeah.
you depend on each other to get things done. And so you got to have that trust. If you don't have that, then you know that's how I think it falls apart, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen so many business
Like
it's-
teams.
Yeah, like you know teams, and it's just over the years you see people getting together, and you're like, all right, man, like if you want, and then of course like 3 years later, they're like, I hate that person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, so you just went on your honeymoon. You're back. You guys have a. I remember you guys were saying you guys had like a small office.
yeah, it was like 400 square feet or something like that. It was like super puny.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this last time, but that model, that business model that she created and you guys
Right.
wanted was
Yeah,
basically paperless and just one
yeah.
hub, which would be
So
perfect
she
for right
wanted-
now.
It would be perfect for
Yeah.
now. She wanted, I think it was ahead of its time at that time, right?
Yeah.
Like she wanted completely online.
Crazy.
No office space really at all. Just wanted a small place with a boardroom to drop off checks and process deals or whatever. But we, when we started recruiting, we found out real quick that it was just the industry wasn't ready for it. People were just uncomfortable with being online, and like we had a virtual office online where each person had their own office, and you're like this little emoji, and you can go into people's offices and shit. And
Like a little avatar.
Yeah, like a little avatar, and then you can
I'm in the office.
you're like in the office, and then you can knock on a door.
Oh my god.
And then the other person would answer, and then you can come in. Like you can lock your door. You can have a meeting in a boardroom and share your screen, and so you just connect through, just like video, just like how Zoom is doing right now.
That's crazy.
But
That's actually pretty.
it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I mean, even that program now is like amazing.
Because what year was that?
It's 2010.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, 10 years
But
ago.
people weren't ready for that, and we moved. We went from 400 square feet to 4,000 square feet, and then that's when we started growing.
Yeah.
And how long what was the year gap between that move?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, so
Wow.
we bought it. We started to realize, like, first couple months real fast, like, hey, we need another space.
Because you guys got a lot of people coming.
Yeah, so it's just like recruiting. It was an objection from a lot of people. They come into the office, there was no exposure. We were on the second floor of the Devonish building. And so that was like a big objection we had to overcome. So we had to move. And we moved into a 4,000 square feet space, but with no private offices, just like drop-in
Open
space.
Was that the one on top of Singapore Sam's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Had a big patio.
Yeah, I heard
You guys
that
are-
patio was fun.
That was fun.
You guys open up the window.
It was awesome.
And barbecues and parties there.
Parking was a bitch, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in that area.
So, believe it or not, we grew in that office up to 60 agents with 4 parking stalls.
Jeez.
And so, and then in between there, that's when we bought those other offices. We bought Canmore and Cochrane and Sundry first, and then a year later we bought Canmore and Banff, and then a little bit after that we bought out Jessica.
Crazy. Yeah, Canmore and Banff would have been a good spot.
Yeah, it's everything sounds so good. I don't know if you guys ever done this, but like things like sound so good in theory,
Of course.
and then when you
Yeah.
do it, you're like, oh fuck, why did I do that? Like,
For sure.
so
But you don't know until you try.
yeah, man, like so okay.
But it sounds amazing.
It sounds
buy these
amazing.
Brokers in Banff,
Oh, right.
Canada, we're all over the world.
This
right?
is
Taking
the
over Alberta.
You can sell the idea. It's like, centralized conveyancing. We have offices in these rural areas. We can pool all of our resources, save on the money or on the expenses, reduce their fees. Everything is online. Submit the documents. We do EFT payments, and we can grow into surrounding areas, and we can capture all of those markets. Sounds like a pretty good plan, right? But the thing is, we forgot, or we didn't realize, is that like smaller communities run very differently than like a big
Bigger
city
city,
does.
yeah.
Like they're very tight knit. They know everybody. All the agents do business differently because they know each other very well. And we were not there. Like we were there once a week. Me
Yeah.
and Farn were there once a week, and
So it's more like community based.
yeah, it's hard to recruit when you're not there.
Oh.
And then they're like, "Hey, it's the city boys coming in." It was great, but you just don't have the manpower to do that. So after a little while, we just sold them all. In 2014, we sold them all, and then we moved to East Village.
So what did you learn most about that whole process with buying those and letting them go?
I think the relationships with people are the same, no matter where it is. One thing that we really, really got out of that was that you got to stick to what's 100%. Like, that's 100%. You got to focus your efforts, because if you start dividing your efforts, then it's very tough. Because when we bought those offices, the recruiting in our current in Calgary started to, like, we didn't have enough time to grow, because we were turning those offices around. We bought it when they were not doing so well, and so we had a lot of stuff to do, like cut expenses, rejig their processes, make it profitable.
A lot of restructuring.
Yeah, and that just took time away from what really would have probably made us more money, was to focus on recruiting in one spot.
Yeah, in Calgary. You got to focus on your bread and butter.
Yeah, exactly.
Until it's really good, but you guys were still building it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the mistakes that I think I think that we all do that. I think, like,
Oh,
we
of
need
course.
you have to discover that for yourself for you to be able to grow and know that you just have to focus on what you do best and focus on that and do that over and over and over and become the best at what you do versus trying to do too much and not focus on any one thing.
For sure.
Yeah, mastery.
Yeah.
Those things that you do actually help you grow more with what you actually need to do, right? So you guys had to see it and try it out, and then that made you guys grow even faster when you guys let that go, right?
Yeah, you learn. Yes, when we let that go and we moved into East Village, like that was our fastest growth that we've had in East Village.
Because I think at one point you guys had like
We were at 100. We were at 110 agents at one point.
Oh wow!
Probably in 2014, 15 or something like that. At like 110 agents.
There was a point where you guys separated, so it just became you and Farhan, and then Jessica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica. What happened there, and like, were you guys just not working good together, or why did she leave, or what happened? Can you talk about that, or?
I think that's more of like a story from Farhan, but like you know, it's like we were working well together, which is fine. But you know, she was in Canmore, we were in Calgary. We were really running the office, and she had her input, and we were relying on some of her expertise to talk to us. And I mean, I'll kind of cut the story short, but there was a little thing where Farhan tends to reply to different messages, like with like reply all or like
include everyone in
he'll think that he's sending it to somebody else, but it's not going there.
Okay. Accidentally messaging someone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then and then that probably started a little bit of a discussion of okay, well, you know, maybe this isn't a fit, because I think we both knew that it wasn't a fit. Like we were taking it in a different direction that she wanted it to go in the first place.
You guys weren't all aligned with everything, and there was like
Different pages.
Yeah,
but it wasn't really discussed, and then that email probably or whatever.
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
a pretty funny story.
We'll have to get him to share that story.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you guys separated.
Yeah.
And then it's just you and Farhan now at the East Village.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was a big space, like, and the other thing is we said, you know, we're going from 4,000 square feet now up to almost 8,000 square feet.
Oh. Is it that big there?
Yeah, 70.
Pretty big.
Wow.
So a few hundred square feet shy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's about 76, 80, something like that.
And you guys have been at that space because I joined up with you guys two and a half years ago, and you guys, how long have you guys been at that space? Because now you guys are moving again.
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, we were there 2014.
Yeah.
Then we bought the building, sold the building, and then we're moving again.
Yeah. When's that one going to be finished then?
Oh man, hopefully like in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh wow, that soon.
I drove by it a couple times.
Yeah, all the studs are up.
Yeah.
Where is it again? It's on 17th Ave?
8th Street and 13th Ave.
Right across from the Good Life. Beside Head Candy.
Beside Head Candy, yeah.
Oh,
Right by Modern Jelly Donut.
Like Urban Fairs over here, and then it's like a few
Yeah, I
blocks
think I remember. I got my hair cut there once at Candy. So yeah, now you guys are moving. You guys have 80 agents.
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened. Mm-hmm. What do you see happening for you guys in the next 5-10 years, right?
Well,
because it seems like this is your next step now.
Yeah, well, our plan, like the whole Irealty scenario, started off with all the technology stuff that we talked about before, right?
Yeah.
Digital signatures, we were like first ones to do that. Now technology's kind of caught up with the industry. Everybody kind of, they know what's up, you know?
Yeah.
So every once in a while, of course, we always have to sit back and say, okay, well, what's the next thing? You got to figure that out. And so we're making the move because I think that the days of private offices are slim.
Yeah.
Like we got 22 offices in our current space right now, and it was full for many years. But then in the last few years, We only have 4 people occupying any of those offices right now. And just seeing that trend, seeing the new brokerage, new brokerage models coming in, I think the days of like paying $1,200 a month is going to be over soon. And so for us to look at a new model where we can reduce our office space and pass that savings on to our agents, that's why we're changing our plan down to $700 a month, and just be completely transparent with, this is what it is. Like, you're getting value for the number one real estate brand in the world. You still get the same value, you still get everything that any RE/MAX office out there will give you, but at a fraction of the cost, because we were able to save on all these things.
You guys are adapting with the way the future is going. Yeah.
And COVID proved that we can do it, and it proved that agents can do it, and people are more now open to working from home. They're more open to technology, like video conferencing. I don't know why, but I don't know, maybe you guys see this also. It's like, in the industry, people just never used Skype, or they never used Zoom, or they don't like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't like the video conferencing. They want a face-to-face, but like, it makes sense now. And this whole COVID thing happened, and it was a quick, everybody had to adapt really quickly, so buyers, sellers, agents, everybody, home inspectors, everybody had to adapt. And so that's helped.
Yeah, it definitely made an impact on the industry with that. And like, that technology's been around for so long, but yet no one's really utilizing it to its full potential.
Yeah, exactly.
So
this is definitely forcing people to use it, though.
Yeah.
And what I found is it makes your life more efficient. Right?
100%. Like, you don't have to get in your car to drive anywhere now to have a face-to-face meeting, and people are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So
we've been doing pre-listing, questions and everything online, and that's just like, it's so much easier.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, time's precious, man. Like, the days when before electronic signatures, you need an amendment. You had to drive, like, you're wasting an hour to go get one sheet of paper signed. Yeah. And now you can do it in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
When I first started in real estate, I was introduced to like reprinting DocuSign, right? And I was like, okay, this is amazing. And I did some deals where some old school realtors were still faxing.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening? Why aren't you guys adapting to this? Like, he's like, oh, I gotta just wait. It's gonna take me about 2 hours because they live in Airdrie, and I gotta go drive there.
Right.
And I'm like, hey man, I could literally do it for you. Let me just send them. Like, give me your email. He's like, no. I'm like, I'm trying to help you out here. I could literally DocuSign it for you. Save you a 2-hour drive, right?
We're gonna see that fax. Well, I mean, Krebs just, like, they dropped the iFax number a little while ago. Nobody needs it. Like, nobody.
I don't know.
Like, why do you need a fax number right now?
Yeah.
Like, it's useless. Yeah. Like, we kept one for the office because we still get faxes from lawyers. Some lawyers are moving towards emails and things, but like, there's no reason why you need a fax number anymore. It's kind of crazy.
It's very old school.
Yeah. 10 years in the business, Jimmy. What do you think the biggest, like, the hardest thing you've had to deal with?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
Because to be in the business for 10 years is a long time too, right? And definitely you've probably seen ups and downs and a lot of growth and everything. What do you think the hardest thing for you in the last 10 years was?
I don't know if it's like the hardest thing, but it's certainly, like, 10 years is a long time. So you have to.
You've probably seen everything.
Yeah, you gotta.
Right? And dealing with all the agents.
All the changes.
Yeah.
All the agents. You know what? Like, when agents used to leave us, there was always like, oh man, but they always left for a reason that was best for them. Yeah. And so they were moving, they had family changes, they got out of the industry or whatever. So you just learn over the years to, those are the best things that can happen. And so nobody has left us because they're upset. The challenge, I guess the most challenging thing doing something for so long is to be able to just completely, always be driven to continue to do it for that long and keep on going, So along the way, you just get different ideas, well, should we have a small team instead of a big office, all those things. And sometimes it gets draining after you do it for a while, but then that's why business partners are such a good thing, is because
For sure.
you can kind of balance that off a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you guys have another business partner now.
Yeah, we brought on
Brad.
Yeah.
And how's that going with him?
It's going good. He's
Brad's a funny guy.
Yeah.
he's a funny guy.
I taught him quite a bit.
You know what? He's been my backup for like forever, for a while now. Ever since so when I travel, he's the backup, right? And it was like we always knew we wanted to grow the management team to get a little bit more diversity into the team. And so, if we can focus on more strategic things, and we can just get more hands to help us out, right? Little things that we've always talked. Warren's always talked about that podcast. We talked about that, but we never had time to do it.
But so they have another podcast. It's called the Hennessy Box.
Hennessy Box podcast.
Yeah, so check it out. And I'm proud to say I was your
first guest.
So go check it out. But yeah, so sorry, go on.
Yeah, so we just get to do different things. We get to implement different strategies. Now that we're making such a big change in the model, it's we needed more manpower to do it, or else you just won't be able to do that. You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah, you got to diversify.
Yeah.
What's the craziest story you could tell us with dealing with so many agents? Any crazy stories with deals or agents? You don't have to disclose names or anything, but
oh man,
I mean, you've probably seen a lot of shit happen, right, over the last 10 years.
Yeah, a lot. I think the craziest stuff. You know what? I think the craziest stuff that ever happens or that I know about is all personal stuff of the agents, because as a broker, you're not just there to tell them about deals or whatever.
Yeah.
You're there to be a sounding board for them for all sorts of stuff. So anything that's going on in their personal lives, you're there for them. You got to listen, you got to help them through, and I think that's the cool part of the job. But then you also hear some crazy stories about drugs and all sorts.
Anything you could share?
I don't know if I can.
No.
The most interesting stories, I don't know if I can share that, because then if they listen to this, then they'll know who it is.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't do
Jimmy.
Thought I could get maybe something out of you, but
other things. You walking in on people taking a shower in a showing. Tenant had a rager at the night before and just didn't leave, and they were passed out naked on the couch. Those stories are always
those are fun.
Yeah.
Tell us about your next business venture.
The new business venture.
The new business venture. Oh, you got a few more, or Paper Lantern.
Oh, Paper Lantern. Yeah, this just a hidden cocktail bar, and I think that was it's me and my wife, and then my sister-in-law and her fiance.
Okay.
We just thought that it was we've always wanted a cocktail bar. Tanner, who's Nee's fiance. Okay. He's into cocktails. He makes some really good drinks, right? And just over the years, we're just talking hey, yeah, this would be cool. We thought, yeah, what a great idea if we can put one in Chinatown. There's nothing in Chinatown right now. You can't get a drink in Chinatown anywhere. And
that's true.
There isn't. You want to drink downtown in Chinatown, you can't get one.
Yeah,
other than beers.
It's after hours.
Yeah, you can after
the
hours.
Specialty,
you get specialty.
Yeah.
You get beers, but that's about it, right? So we were walking around, and we thought about this for a while, and then we were walking around, and we said, and Chinatown, there's only a few streets that you're oh, okay, this might work. And there's just one space that we're in now that we said, this place would be fantastic for a cocktail bar. Coincidentally, Anne knows her friend, there's a long connection, but her friend's brother is Ho Wan's daughter's husband.
You lost me there, but
The
go
rest,
on.
the restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant. Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
the whole one, the restaurant.
Okay.
So they own that building, and it was empty. Like, we knew it was empty for a while. It wasn't being occupied as a retail space. So she reached out and said, "Hey, are you leasing out that? Like, what's going on with the basement suite there? Do you know the landlord?" They're like, "Oh yeah, it's us." And so we started talking to them, and that's how we got the space. It wasn't even listed. It wasn't anything. It was just pure coincidence, and it just happened that it's a good spot for us, and we opened up a cocktail bar in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys opened up right before COVID. That's crazy.
Yeah, so we constructed it. It took extra long because we did it ourselves. And right when we were about to open is middle of March 16 or something. Everything shut down, and we're like,
before.
all right, twiddle our thumbs, scoped out the situation, see what's up. It gave us a little bit of time to really like get things going.
For sure.
And then finally we're like, okay, we're going to sell some cocktail kits. And so we started selling the pina coladas and just a bunch of cocktail kits, right, for people to enjoy at home.
Yeah.
That did really well. And then we see all these other cocktail kits come up. And then we stopped selling those, and we soft launched like 2 weeks ago. And it's actually, this whole thing has actually helped us quite a bit, because we didn't have to open up and just take everybody in. Like, it's a slow, gradual opening. We get to, just ease into it versus having to
Open sign and everyone comes in.
exactly. Like, because we're limited on seating capacity, so we've been doing like seated times, and that's helped control the flow a bit. So this coming week we're not doing seated times anymore. So it allowed us to, and everybody's super understanding during this time, right? So then we open Friday, Saturday for 2 weeks. Next week's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But then it just helps you ramp up. It helps you like work out all the kinks. You can change the spring roll wrap, because the first 2 weeks we were using a wrap that was like not that great. And then so the next week we can change it, and nobody's gonna notice or nobody's gonna care. Versus if you had a shitty product right off the bat and everybody was there and you couldn't provide the service, you're screwed. So it kind of helped us in a way. I mean, I think it was a blessing in disguise, really.
For sure. Because I felt like you guys adapted pretty well, like during all that COVID stuff, especially with those kits. And then now that you guys are opening, it's almost like a long, soft opening, so you can kind of work the kinks
It's a really long,
out.
soft opening, so like we're adding days, like, 2 days a week. Like, which restaurant opens 2 days a week on grand opening? Like, you'd be... like that doesn't happen outside of these times, I don't think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So you got your brokerage now, and you have, I don't know if you have any other businesses on the go.
We got a website coming.
Website, you got your paper lantern, you got the brokerage. What can you share with entrepreneurs of what you've learned on how to diversify, and like basically anything you can share to help people that are entrepreneurship, because those are a lot of big projects. I feel. Even like one person has one restaurant, right?
Yeah.
One person focuses on the brokerage, but to diversify yourself and have these relationships with people to have these businesses going. Like it sounds like it's not a lot of work, but it is a lot of work. I feel
it's a ton,
especially if you know like business, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
All the little things.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is that you got to recognize that you can't do it all yourself. And I think that over the years, I myself had to learn, because like I was talking about the introverted personality. Like there's a lot of things that I would just want to hang on to and do myself, and I would credit Farin for kind of pushing me in that direction a little bit, where he just doesn't want to do anything himself. Take that in a good way, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Like, clean my car? Fuck no way. I want to go hire somebody. Like those types of things, because because time to him is very important. And I've learned that over the years. And so you can't just start a bunch of businesses on your own. Like that's just you're setting yourself up for failure. Have some, you gotta start those businesses with people that you trust and have a good relationship with, and you can connect with, even well before getting into business with them. I think, or else there's gonna be a real bitch trying to
for sure
some stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing is, it's like, I don't know, man. You can't bite off more than what you can chew.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, if you got all these balls in the air and you can't, like, you know your own limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just do more than what you can't. And it's happened to us. Like, there are times when we've started too many things,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them got done.
Yeah.
Like, we spent a bunch of money. Like, we started a website, like,
Mm-hmm.
great idea. Like, I just started a website called Campedia,
Yeah.
side business. Yeah, I thought it was like fantastic, but then we had no time for it. So we spent all the money on building this website, but yet it's not launched.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that.
If you're gonna commit to something, commit to it.
Commit to it fully. Make sure you got the time to do it, and
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
with people that you trust, and get help when you need it.
Yeah.
I think that's something we're learning right now, because me and Dave always have so many ideas with YYC Real Estate Group,
Yeah.
and we're like, fuck, man, we never finish anything.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this podcast for since last year, and it's just always in the back, and we're like, let's do it, right?
Right.
But I think it's just to commit to it and actually be like follow through.
Mm-hmm.
The first step's the most important one.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, don't go out like. There's some serial entrepreneurs out there, I think, that just does whatever.
Yeah, that used to be me.
And that works. I mean, that works well for some
Yeah.
people, right? Like, you had a cleaning business, you're in real estate, you had like all sorts of stuff, and which is good, and it works well for some people.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, when you step outside of what you're best at and be the best at what you do with this one thing,
Yeah.
it becomes a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I think what I've learned was we need to build our business so good that we could have structures in place for it to essentially run itself,
Mhm.
right? Until we get to that point, it doesn't make sense to jump somewhere else, because then you get too scrambled.
Right.
Mhm.
Focus on that one thing, and once you're solid at that, and then branch out.
Mhm.
Versus what I was doing was wanting to get my hands on everything,
Right.
and just not being able to commit to everything long term, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, the only one that really stuck was real estate, and so we tried to tie in other businesses within the real estate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you threw in when I got that cleaning company, it was just, that was a whole nother
A whole different ballgame, right? Yeah, it's like, I'd really like, if you look at some of the business out there, I've always liked to look at, when you travel, you see other businesses, and you're like, wow, how can this business survive for hundreds and hundreds of years doing this one thing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I took a lot of inspiration from, for that, like, from that perspective, like Cafe Du Monde in
The States,
in
right? Louisiana?
Louisiana. No,
Yeah.
oh shit, what?
Don't look at me, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It's a coffee brand.
Oh, okay.
In New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans.
Yeah, that's right. In New Orleans, so all they sell is beignets, and they've been doing it forever. Beignets and coffee, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's all they do. There's a tart place in Lisbon.
Yeah, Portugal.
Yeah, hundreds of years. That's all they sell. It's like they're.
Same with Japan.
So, yeah, exactly. In Japan, they do one thing and they do it so well
For like hundreds
they're
of
so
years.
successful at it. It's, I don't know. I think that's some
Mastery.
inspiration in there. Mastery is a big thing.
Yeah.
For sure. And it takes a long time to master it. I mean, we haven't even mastered our business yet.
They say 10,000 hours or 7 years.
Yeah, you
Whatever
gotta-
comes first.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with what you said, though, with partnerships and can't do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to realize that also, and you do need the team and support, right? And that's kind of something I've been learning the last year or two, where you're like, okay, yeah, you can't do everything on your own.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to get bigger, right?
Right.
And you do need the support, so I totally agree with you with that, Jimmy.
I mean, you got 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
You got to sleep some, and then you're maxed out at capacity.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
then you gotta work, and then you gotta have some time for your personal life too. So it's like it's a
100%.
constant balancing act.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's real important. I mean, we didn't talk about that, but like you need the time to take a step back and recharge.
Yeah.
Well, how do you find the time? How do you structure your days? Because you're doing all these things, and you have a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you structure your time? I see that you have like a bullet journal there. Do you use it every day?
Every day for years now. So
Yeah,
I
you've been
picked this
using
up,
that and you've trained us on how to use that, but you've been
Yeah.
consistent on that.
and it's something that it just keeps. I think I told you, like when I did the session on how to use this or whatever. It's for years I couldn't actually figure out how to do something proper, like to journal something that actually had everything in there, my thoughts, my ideas, any draft, like little doodles or whatever that I'm thinking about, the to-do list, special event days or anything of that sort. Like, and then I found this bullet journal idea or whatever, and I've implemented it, and I've been doing it for probably like 3 years now, I think.
Yeah, consistently.
And it helps you organize your thoughts, and it helps you organize the things that you have to do today. And the other thing, the bonus is that I can always look back on any certain day, like any day, and I'll know what I did that day. Kind of a little bit of a.
So you use that on a daily basis.
All the time. It never leaves my side.
That's crazy.
Because
It's
like
a part
when
of you.
Yeah, like when you're on the phone and somebody's asking you to do something, and you got so much shit that's on your mind, you're gonna forget if you don't write it down. Like for me, like I'll just forget.
100%,
So
yeah.
I have to write that down, and then then it's there, and then it feels like a little thing that I have to do and check off, and then it gets done. So it helps with a lot of efficiency.
And it also doesn't occupy any space in your mind where you're like thinking about this thing where you're gonna forget about it, and then after, because you can just focus on like things at hand at present, and then you can look back at it after and be like, okay, I need to get this done. But you're not like, you don't have to remember every little detail of something that's going on.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, it's nice because you get the idea, like something you need to do, you put it down, you know it's there, and you can forget about it until you know that when you got to come back, okay, I'm sitting down on a computer now. And it makes you so much more efficient because you got like, let's say you got like 30 things you got on this list to do, right? And 20 of those items are actually just things that you can do on a computer. Like you have to sit at your computer and do whatever. So then you just maximize your time. When you sit down on a computer, I open my book, I'm like, okay, I got to do this, and then you check off all the things that you need to do when you're sitting there. And then you can plan your day, you can organize your day, you just become a little bit more efficient that way.
Time management.
So you bring that everywhere you go.
Everywhere.
And
grocery shopping.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. My grocery shopping list would be in here too. If I need to buy something, I'll put it in my
Your
grocery.
business plans, everything.
Everything.
How do you? Because this is my problem with that. I totally agree with that, right? And when you showed me that, I used it
Yeah.
for about 30 days.
That should have formed a habit for you.
Yeah, 22 days.
But I don't know what it is with me. It's consistency. How do you stay consistently using that? It's just
Discipline.
After I formed that habit of like just using it, it was such a benefit for me that it was just such a benefit that I just had to use it.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't, then I felt like something was. It's kind of like wearing a watch, right? Like I don't have a watch on today, but then I feel a little naked.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of like that. It's like then you just get consistent with it, and you want to use it. And you want to.
There's something missing with me because when you did teach that session, I saw it at the office too. Everyone's using it. You were using it.
I wasn't even there.
But you were. I think you had the bullet journal.
No, I don't have one. I have a different one.
Yeah.
Like I have like a small moleskine that I always bring for every meeting.
Those are the
one,
best.
Yeah, one business, one personal.
Yeah.
So I write all my personal stuff in one and all the business stuff. So anytime I go into a listing presentation, I'm writing the notes on what
Yeah,
they're
you
saying.
write the notes.
Yeah, you don't write notes though. That's
No,
the
I know,
problem.
I know.
And I've been telling you that.
Yeah.
See, well, that's the thing.
That's
It's
why
like,
I need the consistency.
See, when you have a conversation with somebody, I put the notes in here too, is because you want to remember what the hell you talked about. Because chances are, you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
Like
there's just too much shit going on.
we're filled with information now.
Too hard to remember everything, right?
Like too much shit going on.
What I do is I write my day, and that's all I really do. But I do need to be more consistent with pretty much having it with you all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I tried a couple of different ones. Like this one here is is a moleskin,
Yeah.
and it's thin enough that I could just put a pen in here, and then it just you can put this in your pocket. It fits in a lot of pockets. And I tried a hardcover. It's too big.
Yeah.
I hate it. I tried something even thicker than this. It's just not.
You don't
so
use
this
it.
is like the perfect
Like
one.
this, I have another
yeah, it's
one.
a little thick.
And
I
it's
used that
like-
one before, and it's like
It's
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, this is mine. When it's a piece of paper.
I used to do that.
But the thing is
Like-
that you'll throw it away.
yeah,
And
Yeah,
you don't
for
care.
sure I
you don't
will.
care for it. That's
Yeah.
the thing, and that's the problem with the notebooks that are smaller, that are like smaller than the size of your phone. You can carry it with you. Because after you're done with that, you're not going to look at that again.
No.
And then you check it.
Yeah.
and then you probably wrote something important on there that you're gonna need to reference later.
Yeah.
Well, these are all the. this is everything I wanted to talk to you about. So I think we covered pretty much everything.
Oh, that's sweet.
And yeah, we're an hour in, so we could probably wrap this up now. Do you have any questions for Jimmy or anything you want to ask him, Dave?
I think we covered most of the stuff.
You guys enjoying this?
Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
was a
Like,
great
no, like
conversation.
enjoying the podcast scenario.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I love about the podcast, and it helps you actually after.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're not even in a podcast and you're in a conversation with someone.
Right.
Like, can you relate? Where
Yeah. No. Totally. Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly.
And
So I find myself I'm having more longer conversations with people. And
Right.
And they're deeper.
And they're deeper.
Yeah.
And
the deeper connections. Yeah.
And I'm more present.
Right.
And I'm like I'll have a 30-minute conversation with someone one-on-one. I'm like, God damn, did I have that conversation? And they're like ready to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's usually like, yo, I gotta get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're usually in a rush.
Yeah, I'm always in a rush. Right? So yeah, I love the podcast. It helps. There's so many benefits to it where I don't even think we know yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think it's a way to teach. I think it's teaching me to, like you said, have better conversations.
Yeah.
And because you're sitting here and you got headphones on, and so you're totally like just in that conversation, right? And it helps you have a more genuine conversation with other people and people that you meet over time. Just because like I think a lot of conversations now are superficial.
For sure. For
Like,
sure.
Just there's small talk and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's kind of tough. And
Well, and you don't get like the platform to have a deep conversation most of the time, right? And you right now we are all kind of have to be present,
Right.
Versus if you're at a party and you're talking to someone, they could be tipsy, and like
yeah,
it's just it is really short talk,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So I do really appreciate these podcasts for sure, right?
Yeah, that's fun. If anything, it's like a great way to learn and share.
It is. And like I didn't know your story till now, right? I didn't even
Right.
know you went to school. I didn't know any of that, right? And so this helps, your audience too, Jimmy. If someone's listening that doesn't
Right.
really get to know you,
Yeah.
get to know you even more, and like kind of what you went through, right? Yeah, I think that's what I got from the podcast. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
I feel like I got one more question or something for you before we wrap this up, Jimmy.
What's up? I feel like this is gonna be an interesting question.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Another fact that
Just now that I got you here, I feel like this is my opportunity to ask something.
a lot of people don't know that I was a Vietnamese refugee.
Yeah, tell us something that no one knows. You were a Vietnamese refugee.
Did the whole thing. The boat, middle of the night.
Crazy.
Really?
Fishing boat crammed with like almost 100 people. Almost
Wow.
sank in the middle of the ocean.
Wow. Let's
Yeah,
talk about
Malaysia.
that.
That's
actually,
crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea. So
I left when I was like, so my brother and my dad left Vietnam after the war, right? Like they left 2 years before me and my mom did. I was too young. So they left when I was 2. And then me and my mom stayed back in Vietnam for another 2 years. And then when I was 4 and I was old enough, then she did that journey.
by
And-
herself or was
Yeah,
it-
just
you
me
and her.
Oh, you guys together.
Me and my mom. Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
So you were 4.
4. Yeah. So then so we left. did the whole boat thing, a couple days to make it to Malaysia.
So what do you remember?
Very little.
Okay.
But there's like, it's weird because I don't know if this is actually, if I'm making up the memory or not. But there's two very specific things that I just have a glimpse of in my mind. One is it was very rough that night on because you had to take a small boat out to a fishing boat. That's like, because the fishing boat can't dock and get a bunch of people on there, so like little small boats had to go out. So I remember the little small boat, it was at night and water was coming in, so they were like bailing it out. I remember very little of that part. I've asked my mom before, she said yeah, something like that. The other
Tell me the details.
the other thing I remember was we were in the hull of the boat and we were right beside the engine, and it was like very tough to breathe.
Oh, wow.
Diesel.
So yeah, so I remember.
How big was
I
the boat?
remember a little bit of that.
Do you remember how big the
No,
boat?
I don't.
And
It's
there
just-
was hundreds of people in this boat.
yeah, it's
That's
packed.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that, and then that's about it.
Yeah.
And then I remember a little bit when we were in the refugee camp.
Were you in Macau or were you in Hong Kong?
We were in Malaysia.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, so you guys went to Malaysia first?
Like, that's where you dock. So you go to the refugee camp, and then you stay there for
Until you get like
Like-
processed.
until you're processed, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Like we were there for 6 months because my brother and my dad already got accepted. They were there for I think a year,
Crazy.
and then they came here, and then we came to Calgary in '88.
So you guys flew here from Calgary.
They were sponsored.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys were sponsored.
So at that time, the government were accepting, like, the entire family got split up, like, my aunt, uncles, and everything, like
Yeah.
California, Australia, wherever. They, my dad came and he got sponsored to Calgary, and that's how we went. That's how we came here, is because he was here. Yeah, man, Calgary was a different time. It was different back then.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents went through the same thing as well. Like they were from the north though, so they got processed in Hong Kong, and
Yeah.
then I think they were in there for a while. Like my older sister was born in a refugee camp.
Yeah.
Like she's not actually a Canadian citizen originally. She's actually like I think she has like a Hong Kong or Macau.
Right. Yeah.
And then they got sponsored from there to Fernie, and that's where like my dad went to school.
Oh wow, cool.
And stuff like that. My dad went to school in Vancouver for plumbing. So, but yeah, like my sister and my parents were like all refugees.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I wasn't. My mom was though.
Yeah.
My mom was still.
Well,
but-
shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like, it keeps me grounded, though. Like, just every once in a while, I just look back and I'm like, they were 20. They were in their 20s,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
Not even-
like-
yeah.
mid 20s, and they packed up and left and came to another country with nothing,
In
They
their
probably didn't
pockets,
speak
yeah.
English too, right?
Yeah.
zero,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they survived. So
Exactly, and like that's the
That will
good
definitely
survival
humble
story.
you for
you
sure.
know, so
Yeah.
we gotta be. So
Yeah,
we gotta
it's
be grateful for what we have now, I guess. But
Exactly.
That's crazy. I didn't know. I thought you were born and raised here like me. But that's I can't even imagine that being on a boat. And
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
like
There's
we
some
talk
crazy
about
stories.
it, right?
Yeah,
But
you talk about it, but you see it now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you see the refugees, like like Syrians and stuff, and you're like, and the politics that goes around it. But at the end of the day, they're people trying to get away from,
Yeah, their
a
situations.
war-torn place or a situation, and you gotta. It seems different.
Yeah,
now.
you got to be sympathetic to it.
Yeah.
all right. Well, I think.
Well, you didn't have a question for me, but
Well, that kind
maybe
of threw me
that's-
off guard when you said that. I was like, what? I didn't know that. Give me a second here. Let me think. Just something maybe good for the listeners. Any advice? Any advice you want to give
on what?
on life,
I suck
business,
at it.
personal?
I suck at advice. I suck at giving advice. I don't know, man.
Something you learned. Something you learned. Other than you need support to help grow your business. Anything else that you want to share? If you got nothing, you got nothing. But any last words?
This just came up. I was having this conversation with Farhan the other day, and there's the one thing that I always keep in the back of my mind when you're having these when you're having conversations with people is that they, you know how you always get these little tendencies to maybe like not, like maybe just like lie a little bit just for some stupid random reason. I don't know what it could be. Like maybe if you were like, this is a stupid example, okay? Like maybe if you were in the bathroom or something, and somebody's calling you, and then they're like, oh, what were you doing? And then you're like, you're on the spot, you made up something else, just so then you're like not telling them that, like, those little things might come back and bite you in the ass. So I've made it a habit to just to tell people how it is, you know, like, because then it's the truth and it will never ever come back and bite you in the ass.
You never have to change the story, because it's the truth.
And then you'll never get caught either. And that's such a stupid example, but like, you know, like little things, man, like friends asking you to go out. Okay, so friends will be like, hey, you want to go out? It's like, nah, man, I'm busy. And then you make up something like, I'm busy with my family event or whatever. Then you totally fucking forget about it. And then you take a Instagram photo of you doing something completely different that night. And they're like, people bullshit me. So then now you just be like, no, man, I'm not down for that, or I don't want to go. So that was just a conversation I had with Farn.
I think having
in general,
having integrity with what you say, and there's just no need to. There's no real need to lie, or not lie, but just tell the truth, right? Like because the only reason you're not telling the truth is you think how the other person's going to react, right? And you don't know that.
Yeah, you can't control that.
You don't know how they are going to react, but you will over exaggerate or say or little lies just to get out of that situation short term. But in the end, there is an impact. Right. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it comes back to that whole conversation started just because I came back to something that I have on my wall at the office that Brad sits in now, but it says hell yes, hell yeah, or no. So I read that somewhere in a book somewhere. I don't know, hell yeah or no, and it was like, and it's helped me make so many decisions just so many decisions. So it's like either it's a hell yes, yeah, I'm 100% on this, or nah, I'm just gonna tell you I'm not for it. And I do that a lot with like sales calls and stuff. Like people used to you guys probably get a lot of meetings requests, right? Yeah. And then like I used to have to, I'm like a pleaser, so I was like, yeah, sure, man, we can do this. But then it ends up wasting an hour of your time, something that you were never interested in the first place. So then now I just get really good at saying, you know, it's not for me right now. I don't think that we need it, or just tell them no.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's not a hell yes.
Yeah. It makes it black or white. Like there's no gray area, and it's not like convoluted. So it's like you're either in or you're out. There's no, you're not halfway in, you're not halfway out. That's right. It's just black or white.
It's black or white. It's like, yes, I want to do this, and I want to do it with 100% like enthusiasm and commitment, or don't do it at all. Because the gray and the in between, I think that's where you waste a lot of your time.
And money. Sure. Time, money, everything.
Oh, it's just way better, and you feel so much better when you're just like, no.
Oh yeah. It's like no, man, I'm not gonna. And people won't. And you know what? So many people's afraid of that though. They're afraid to say no, and they're afraid of how the other person's gonna react. But I mean, if you just tell them how it is, and you don't do it in a rude way, everybody understands.
It's actually more respectable to the other person if you just say no instead of leaving 100%. Them on. Or
Yeah. Because then you get into this game of like, nah, not this week, but you know what? Call me back next week. And then they call you back next week. You're like, ah, shit.
No, call me back next week.
Call me back next week. And then now you're this guy that's like, you can't commit, or you're like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Those are some good words of wisdom for sure. Just having integrity with what you say, and don't be scared of saying no. And I used to be scared to say no, right? But now I'm pretty confident to be like, listen, man, this is a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time to keep talking. Yeah. Like, let's just go our separate ways. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, no, don't take it personal. It's just, this is not what I want right now.
Yeah.
So, all right.
This is getting much longer than your usual podcast, so I think.
This is an hour 15 minutes. So thanks, Jimmy, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Yes.
Appreciate
Great
it.
conversations, and I look
was fun.
forward to what you guys are going to do and what you're going to be doing in the next 10 years. It seems like you're always making some moves, right? So
Yeah,
I look
for
forward
sure.
to seeing that for you.
Thank you.
And then how can we find you on Instagram?
Oh yeah, you want to
Me?
Yeah, your businesses.
Me?
Yeah, or Paper Fan or
Personally, it's dig_deep. I
Okay.
post one picture a day.
That was
Yeah.
dig, not
Dig, D-I-G.
D-I-G.
Dig deep. You get it? You get it? Last
Yeah.
name.
Dig
Dig
deep.
deep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Inspirational almost. I'm just kidding.
So that's his personal page, and then you.
So
got,
I post one picture a day, no comments or anything like that. A lot of people's been asking me, but there's one post at the very beginning of the year. I explained why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no picture, just one picture, no comments, whatever.
Okay.
And then Paper Lantern YYC,
Okay.
and is the bar, and then Remax Irealty Innovations is the brokerage.
Okay.
Awesome.
And you can find Paper Lantern at what's the address?
I don't even know.
Well, it's in
115
Chinatown.
It's in Chinatown underneath
115
Ho-Wan.
Yeah, 115 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
It's hidden, so you're gonna have to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those
Speakeasies.
Speakeasies.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look for it. But the cocktails are dope.
Yeah. And then Remax Realty Innovations.
Remax
is-
Irealty Innovations.
That's
On Instagram.
On Instagram, and then you guys are moving 13th Ave and H Street. So you can find
You
Jimmy.
can follow the construction on Instagram if you want.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap that up.
Well,
and,
thank you guys. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
good.
Thanks
Good
for coming out.
conversation.
All right.
Right. It's like it wasn't recorded this whole time. I'm pretty sure it was.